So you're wanting to make custom buildings in Crusader Kings for version 1.15 or 1.16? Alright, so first things first, you want to go to your Crusader Kings 3 launcher and then go to mod library and then click on upload mod and then click create a mod and then name your mod. So I'm going to be naming it test building and the version being 0.1 and the directory being the same as the name, so test building. I'm going to add just gameplay tag there and create mod. Once your mod has been created, you can go into your playsets, an empty one, add to current playset, and then look for the show in folder, and then go in there, and you can see that you've just got a descriptor.mod file in there. So we just need to create some folders here that will imitate the same as the base game. So the base game files are these ones here, so you can find that by right-clicking on the game, properties, install files, and then browse. And that will show up with these files here. So the ones that we need are the common folder and then the buildings folder within that. And then we also need some other ones as well, but I will just start creating in our mod folder a common folder. And then in the same base of your mod, you can go localization. And then inside of the common folder, we create a new folder and call it buildings. And then beside that one, we can make a new folder called holdings. And then going back to the base of the mod, going inside of localization, we create a new folder called English. And then inside of that, we can create some new text documents, but we'll change the name of them to test underscore buildings underscore L underscore English.yml. Click yes on that. And then we'll go outside of that that folder, go into common, go into buildings, and then make a new text document in here as well called 00 underscore test underscore buildings.txt. Then we need to open one of these TXT files using Visual Studio Code. So once you've got Visual Studio Code open, we can go into the test buildings.txt, and then we can start making our buildings in here. So I'm going to be naming it test building 01 or underscore 01 for the first level of the building, then equals curly brackets, and then construction time is the first variable we are going to be working with. You could do either quick or you could do slow or standard. So you could do slow or standard construction time. I'm going to go with quick for this tutorial. And then after that, we can move on to cost underscore gold. There are some variables set in the base game files where you could have a bunch of cost tiers here that are predetermined values, but I'm just going to use a flat value of 150 gold for this building. And you could also do cost underscore prestige, which would just cost the player prestige in game. This is typically used for tribal buildings. I'm going to use it for an example in this tutorial. And then moving on, we've got types. So type of building. So you can either go with regular, or you could go with special buildings or duchy capitals. So I'm going to go with a regular building in here. And after that, we can go with can construct. Can construct equals curly brackets. And this is only really used for if you have requirements for whether or not you can build this. So for example, you could have building underscore requirement castle, city, church. So you can only build this if you have a castle, city, or a church at level 1, because you would type in here level equals 01, and that way this would be a tribal requirement. A feudal requirement. But for this tutorial, I'm just going to leave that as commented out so we can always construct it. And then the next option is can construct potential. So this again is if you have requirements for whether or not you can build this in your city or your castle or your church. I'm going to be leaving this empty for this tutorial. And then after that, we can go can construct showing failures only. So for this tutorial, I'm going to have building underscore requirement tribal equals no. So what this is going to be meaning in the future is that if you are tribal, we aren't going to be able to build this. So is underscore enabled is the next part, and it'll be doing the same thing. So building underscore requirement tribal equals no. So this is not enabled if you are tribal, but I will have it as show disabled equals yes. So if your building is disabled in game, it will still show as an option, but it will be grayed out. And then here you can add in as well levy equals however many levies you want. I'm going to put it as 1000 for example. And then a province modifier is next. This is the modifier for your province. And then we can add in, for example, monthly underscore income equals, and you could have anything with tax in here. So you could go with either good or poor or excellent. tax tier. So excellent will be the one I use for this tutorial. So excellent underscore building underscore tax tier 1. So this is the tier 1 of the building. So that's what I'll be adding for this one. And then we can go and add in epidemic resistance. So in the start of the video, I had a epidemic resistance of 5. So epidemic resistance is what would be added to your hospices building. So this, for example, would be the plague resistance here. Moving on from that, we can go ahead and add in some character modifiers as well. So I'm going to be adding in, for example, diplomacy equals 1. There aren't many buildings in the game that will give you stats outright, but I'm just going to have it for an example. And then men at arms maintenance equals normal building, and then underscore MAA underscore maintenance tier 1. So this will allow for your men at arms to have a maintenance reduced. And then after that, we can go with our county modifier. So for my example, I'm going to be adding in some development growth. So development growth equals good underscore building underscore development growth tier 1, and then development growth factor. So this is a different variable again, but good building underscore development growth factor tier 1. So these are different values, but will be on display at the end of the video in the testing. And after the county modifier, we can go down to next underscore building. So this is the which building comes after it in terms of leveling up. So we can go and add test building underscore 02, and then add in the icon for this building that we're currently working on. So type underscore icon equals, and then quotations. I'm going to be using the watermill icon. So inside of the quotations, we can go icon underscore building underscore watermills .dds. So this is the windmills icon. So you can find all the different icons in the game through the base game files. We can go GFX interface icons and then building types, and you can find all these icons in here that you could use the names for, but I'm just going to be using watermills for mine. And then after that, we need to add in our AI value. So how often will an AI build this building? I'm going to put it as a base of 20. And then you could add in things like AI underscore tier 1 building modifier equals yes, or AI underscore tier 1 economic building preference modifier equals yes. So this is for if an AI is wanting to build economic buildings or build buildings at all, then it will lean towards something like this. And then we could also add an AI underscore general building modifier equals yes, and then directive to build economy modifier equals yes. So if you direct your vassals to build economic buildings, then this will be a building that they're tempted to build. And then after this, we're now coding the level 2 of our building. So test building underscore 02 equals curly brackets, and then we can have the construction time again. So quick underscore construction time. I'm going to be keeping it quite simple. We're going to go with cost gold equals 200, and then prestige as well. So cost prestige equals 100. So it's more expensive than the last one. And then province modifier monthly underscore income equals excellent building tax tier. So excellent underscore building underscore tax tier 2. So this is the level 2 of the building, so we need the level 2. And the build underscore gold underscore cost equals minus 0.1. So this is the minus 10% of your building costs gone on this when you get to this building level. And then we could add in another county modifier here, and then development growth equals good underscore building underscore development underscore growth tier 2, and then do the same thing for the growth factor as well. So good underscore building underscore development growth tier factor 2, and then the AI value as well. Sometimes you might have in the base game files, so something like this. So the modifier here is the AI will try and fill out all building slots before going for upgrades. So it will multiply by 0 as long as there is more than 0 free building slots available. I'm not going to do that in my building, but this is just to show what that does. And we can leave the AI value as a base of 10 as well. So this is our test buildings.txt done. So after this file, we are going to be working on the holdings.txt, but I did make a mistake at the start of the video. We're going to need to copy the base game file here. So this is found in Crusader Kings 3, game, common, and then holdings. You copy this file here, and then we want to delete our one. So delete our folder here, move to recycle bin, and then inside of that folder, we can paste that one in there. So we've got the base game file. And now what we can do after that is add in our buildings that we had. So we've got test building _01. We copy that and then put that into the castle holding portion of the code, and we can also put it into the city as well. You can put it onto any holdings that you would like your building to be in. So if you don't want it to be in a church holding, you don't put it in here. I'm going to leave it as the church, city, and castle for now. And that's all we need to do for this TXT, and now we can move on to the localization. So inside of the localization, it's a pretty simple set of codes. So we can go L_English : and then next line with space. You got building _type _test building _01 : and then in quotations, you can name the type of your building. So test building type will be my one. And then we can go below that and go building _type _test building _01 DESC as in description. And then quotations, this is a test building description type, or test building type, sorry, I'll put that back there. And then below that, we can go building _test building _01 : and then quotations, test building level 1. So this is the first level of the building. For an example, this would be hospice, and then this would be the level 1 for hospices. So that would be pilgrims' quarters in here. So that would be the equivalent for in-game. And we can go below that and add in building _test building _01 DESC as in description, and then test building level 1 description. And then we add the level 2 version of that. So test building _test building _02 : and then test building level 2, and then building _test building _02 DESC : quotations. This is a level 2 building description. So you would keep writing the building _test building _03, 04, 05, etc., for how many levels of buildings that you have made in this file here. But for my example, I've only got 2 levels, so I only need the 2. And then with the building type is just, you only need 1 of those. You don't need to add that in for level 2 as well. And so that is the end of this YML file. Just make sure as well, when you are editing .yml files, you are saving with UTF with BOM. So to change that, you click on that and then click save with encoding and then UTF-8 with BOM. And that'll make sure your file is saving properly and working in game. So that is the end of this code. So we can now upload the mod and click play. So going back to our Crusader Kings 3 launcher, we can go into mod library here and click upload mod, and then find the mod that you were just working on. In my case, it would be test building, and then leave the mod ID empty and add at least 10 characters to the description. Then upload mod to Steam. Once that mod has been downloaded, or uploaded rather, you can go to Workshop and go to Files You've Posted, and then go to Test Building, or whatever you've named your mod, and then subscribe to it. And once that's downloaded, you can go ahead and add that to your current playset. And then if you have the on-file version as well in here, you want to remove that from the playset. And now you can click play. So testing the mod, we've got construct new buildings, scroll all the way down to the bottom because it starts with T. And then we've got the test building type and test building type description. It costs 150 gold, 150 prestige. And it gives development growth, tax, plague resistance, 1,000 levies, 1 diplomacy, and -8% men at arms maintenance. And if we go preview, we can see here we've got test building level 1 description, and then the same stats as it would be. And then the level 2, it isn't the same bonuses as the previous building as I have coded it that way, but when coding yours, I do recommend to try and see the level 1 stats and then add them in, but stronger in the level 2. But seeing this all works here, and it takes 22 months as a quick building time, that's all working. And if I click on instantly build new buildings. We got a bunch of new stats in here, so this is all working perfectly, so that is great. Alright, so that is the end of this tutorial. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. Like the video if you like the video, subscribe if you want to see more tutorials, and also please let me know if there are any tutorials you would like to see in the future. Cheers.